All right. Good evening, everybody. It is 7 p.m. in the New York City area. I'm in the wine country of Long Island on the North Fork. It's 4 p.m. in Healdsburg, California. And I am excited about tonight's session. I'm Sam Kimball from Crush Wine Experiences. Thank you so much for joining us on virtual day trip to wine country. We're here for a special visit online with Limerick Lane Cellars, where they believe in the perfect balance of family, soil, rocks, fog, love, risk, and California sunshine to make great, great wine. Limerick Lane, which we've actually had on Day Trip to Wine Country previously, is an iconic wine producer in Sonoma County, in Healdsburg, in the Russian River Valley. It's a 53-acre estate located in the northeast corner of Sonoma County's Russian River Valley. And it's in an area in an appellation renowned for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, but they grow world-class Zinfandel and Rhône-style wines. And it's very interesting. I've had some of these wines previously, not the ones that we're profiling tonight, so I'm excited to taste them. The winery sits at an exact point within Sonoma County where the soil and the water levels, the rocks, the sunshine, the wind, and the fog all meet up. And on top of and underneath and in the midst of all these factors sit grapevines that are perfectly evolved in their composition to thrive in this very environment. So without any of these factors and these elements of the terroir, the wines they make simply wouldn't exist. They're distinctly a product of the terroir, as in almost every winery. A little bit about the Russian River Valley, because it's an important place in our world of wine in the United States. It's located in Sonoma County, north of San Francisco, about 70 miles north. It is one of the most renowned wine regions in the U.S., and it does have a cool climate and diverse microclimates within the valley area. It's very much influenced by the coastal fog that comes in from the Pacific Ocean. So it offers ideal conditions for growing cool climate grape varieties. The terroir is very unique and allows for the production of wines that have vibrant acidity, complex flavors, and really nice balance. So the soils there are well drained. The topography is varied. And all of that contributes to the ability of this particular area to produce world-class wines. So it's a favorite among winemakers and wine enthusiasts. Bottom line, the Russian River Valley is a keystone, a cornerstone of California's wine industry, and it consistently delivers wines of extraordinary, exceptional quality and character. So tonight, our theme or our sub-theme, in addition to the wines and in addition to Limerick Lane Cellars, the winery, is terroir, because we're talking about soil composition, talking about climate, topography, microclimate, and vineyard practices. So a very interesting place to make wine, and I think we're going to discover some really terrific selections this evening. Let's get back to Limerick Lane. A couple of key data points. They have some amazing old vines, because the first vines were planted on the property in 1910, 115 years ago, and they're still producing wine from a bunch of those vines. One of the selections tonight, for example. And then about 75 years later, in the mid-'80s, with new owners, a winery was built and wine production started on the property about 1985, mid-late 80s. They started making wine. And the rest is history. We have a producer that makes tremendous quality wines year in, year out, and has really developed an iconic reputation in the California wine scene. So I want to welcome everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in and joining us. I'm going to make sure that everyone can use the chat. So bear with me 1 second here. We'll get that set up. And okay, great. And that's that. And all right, the chat is live. Do me a favor, hit the chat now if you would, and let us know where in the world you are tuning in from. I want a special welcome to Jan Jensen. It has been a long time, and hello from Lacey, Washington. Great to see you, Jan. And yeah, hit the chat and let us know where everyone's coming in from. Patricia, how are you? Good evening. Great to see everybody. Virginia, Washington, New Jersey, Sonoma County. Love it. Love it. We've got the whole continental US represented here. Charlotte, NC, North Carolina, Nancy from Long Island. Nancy. All right, guys, great to see everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I think this is going to be a fun session. We got a wonderful guest, and we're excited. So let me do a couple more things here. We're going to set up the screen. Okay, very good. We are rocking and rolling. I am going to put up on my screen where we're headed virtually, which would be Healdsburg in California. Always like to ground ourselves in the geography of the moment. So you can see the map pin there, the red map pin, which has Healdsburg right in its center, and it about 70 miles north of San Francisco, about an hour and a half, 2-hour drive, depending on traffic, north of Santa Rosa. And if you haven't spent time in Sonoma County and spent time visiting some of the incredible wineries that are there, you have to do it. There are something like, and my guest will correct me once we bring her in a moment, but there's something like 20 plus AVAs or American viticulture areas within Sonoma County itself. So it is a major wine region. I do want to give a shout out to Patricia, who is in France. So, oh my God, it's getting late there. It's past your bedtime. Great to see you again, Patricia. Thank you for joining us. All right, so let's jump back in and take a look at a couple of other things. So that's where we're headed geographically. And I also want to show you guys a preview of some of the wines that we're going to be profiling this evening. If you have a pen or a pencil, jot this down. There's some information on the next screen I'm going to share. So there it is. Okay, so we're Limerick Lane. If you're curious about the winery, they have a very good website with lots of information. It is limericklanewines.com. And we're going to be profiling these 4 selections. A 2023 Falcha, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. That is a Gaelic word. It's a white blend, combination of Viognier and Grenache Blanc. And then 3 reds. The Russian River Zinfandel, which is a classic selection from the winery. The 1910 block Zinfandel. So those are those 115-year-old vines, old vines Zinfandel. And then kind of the pièce de résistance, if you will, the Marquis Zinfandel. There is a special offer from the winery, which we are hugely appreciative of. They're offering complimentary ground shipping to 48 states, and with any order of 6 bottles or more. And that's going to last through February. So if you're interested in the wines, take advantage of that complimentary ground shipping. All right, so we're going to jump back to the program here. And I would like to say, without further ado, to introduce our guest, Karen Francis DeGolia. Welcome, Karen. Karen's the owner of Limerick Lane Cellars. It's so great to have you with us.
I'm thrilled to be here, Sam. Thanks.
Excellent. Well, thank you for doing this. Where does this broadcast find you exactly?
Okay, this is going to be fun. Lean over a little bit. Lean your head over a little bit.
This
And
way?
I'm in the tasting room, which are the windows right behind you on your screensaver.
Oh my goodness.
So how's
That
that for
is so
good
great.
juxtaposition there? Yeah. So I'm in the tasting room at hey Gary and Diane. I'm in the tasting room in at the winery in Healdsburg.
Awesome. Awesome. And tell us a little bit more from your perspective. You were there going way back at the beginning as the winery was taking shape for actual production of wine on the property. And in recent years, you've become the owner of Limerick Lane Cellars. Tell us a little bit more about Limerick Lane and when you meet somebody new, how do you describe what is the distinct calling card of the winery? What is the winery really all about? What's the DNA?
Well, there's a lot in there that you're asking. I would say that um, I think Limerick Lane Cellars produces the most elegant, balanced Zinfandel and Rhône wines, which honor historic old vine vineyards. So there's a combination of the beauty of the wine itself, and to that we have a lot to thank. There's people, our winemaker, Chris Pittenger, the terroir, the weather, everything you talked about before. But then there's also the fact that we have these old vines, and we also secure other old vine fruit from around Sonoma County to really honor the heritage and the longevity of the vineyards and the grape growing in this area. So I think that's really who we are. And I often say to people, because there are people who say, oh, well, I don't know if I really like Zinfandel. And quite frankly, I think our Zinfandel brings an elegance and balance that people aren't used to as it relates to Zinfandel. And that comes from the fact that it's how we choose to produce it. And also Chris, our winemaker, comes from a Pinot Noir background. And so I think in many ways you can taste and sense a Pinot Noir elegance to the Zinfandel that we produce.
Super interesting. But you make, not just Zinfandel, you make a number of different wine styles.
Right. We actually make 16 different wines, even though we're tiny. We're only a 5,000 case winery. So, and of the 16, five are Rhone style blends or wines, and that would be the Falcha, which you mentioned. We'll talk about that in a minute. We also have a lovely rosé, which is an intentional rosé that we grow the fruit and blend it specifically to make the rosé. We also have a standalone Syrah, a standalone Grenache, and then a really beautiful blend of Syrah, Grenache, and Mourvèdre called Rocks and Fog. Those are
Awesome.
the five roans, and then everything else is a Zin straight up or a Zin blend, blended with Syrah, Mourvèdre, Petite, other types of red grapes.
That's awesome. Vic says he was there. He and his wife visited a couple of years ago and loved the concentration and complexity of the Limerick Lane Zins, which I've had them before, not the ones we're tasting tonight, but and the California Zins in general, the really high quality ones like yours have tremendous, just the complexity, the concentration in those wines is amazing. And yeah, actually, and a couple of other people, that's Patricia. Yeah, awesome. All right, so moving right along, the winery really, when you go on your website, when I've talked to you previously, Karen, you talk about this really strong connection to the land, particularly the focus on sustainable farming. And I think in a world in which we all think a lot more these days about sustainability, about protecting the environment, and lots of stuff, and even climate change. Can you share more about the vineyard practices, the environmental practices you've implemented at Limerick Lane and how they impact the wines that are produced?
Sure. Well, as I talked about honoring the old vines that were planted in 1910, the way that you continue to produce from those vines, as well as plan for a very long, long life of the rest of your vineyard, is to really take care of the land and how you farm. And we farm as sustainably as we know how, I'll say. We have an amazing team. We're very careful with what we do, how we do it. We don't use nasty chemicals. We really, will use the machines that basically cut the weeds right at the vines one by one. And especially with the 1910 block, you have to be very, very delicate with everything that you do. And so, we really invest time and money. It costs more to farm the way we do, but we really believe that that contributes to the quality of the fruit and also the quality of the overall vineyard over time. So we're very careful and loving with it. And while 53 acres might seem like a lot to a lot of people, it's really it's a small enough footprint all on Limerick Lane here that our team and particularly Chris, our winemaker, can go out and be in the vines every day and really make sure that we're um, taking care of them in the way that they need to produce the beautiful wine that they do.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think that's so important. And we get that a lot now with people who come on our wine tours and the excursions we do overseas to Italy and Portugal and France. Um, Everyone's interested in how minimally intervened are the wines that they're trying, that they're tasting, that they're enjoying, simply because, and it's one of my pet peeves. I talk to groups, and when we do vineyard tours here in New York State, I explain that, the mass market wines, there are a lot of them that are just Frankenstein chemical projects, that they're just shoveling additives into vats of wine, literally with shovels. And
Right, right.
it's scary. And that's why, pick one of those mass market brands. I mean, I'm talking about the really mass market ones. The Cabernet Sauvignon tastes the exact same every single year because
Mhm.
it's, it's the other direction. It's like instead of minimal intervention, it's maximal intervention. Um, and when you talk about being small and 53 acres, you're an estate winery. Do you use all of the grapes? And your case production is 100% your grapes. Is there any left over? Do you sell fruit to other producers or no?
We do sell a little bit, just because the fruit is in such high demand, and we decide very strategically who we sell to, and we sell, I'll say, not in a regular sales way, but more in a partnership way, where we really respect the winemaking capability of the partner, and we like working with them. So, we sell to Dan Costa, who's been a longtime friend of Limerick Lane, and he produces his Zinfandel using our fruit. We've sold to, in the past, Mike Officer at Carlisle and Morgan at Bedrock. And I have another that we sold to in 2023. I can't reveal it yet, but I'll just say they're coming out. It's already bottled, and they're going to come out in 2024 with a Limerick Lane wine, specifically using our fruit. And you'll know what I mean when you see it. And it's a very, very well regarded Zinfandel maker.
Nice.
So
Awesome.
we do sell a little bit, but really more because we like the friendship and the partnership. I would say conversely, we do purchase fruit from, as I mentioned before, old historic vineyards. And that includes the Monte Rosso vineyard, which is obviously very famous in Sonoma, Maffei Vineyard, Banfield, which was literally part of, right, it's just adjacent to Jackass Hill at Martinelli. And we search out beautiful fruit that we think we can bring into our style of winemaking and be part of what we do to honor all these old vines. And when we get to the marquee, I'll explain how that all comes together.
So cool. Excellent. Um, all right, let's talk old vines. I love old vines. I generally love the wines that I get to enjoy from old vines. Um, how those old vines doing? 115 years. I
Mhm.
mean, that's
Mhm.
you guys have to really give them some TLC, I'm sure, on a yearly basis. And,
We do.
talk about um, you know, those old vines, that 1910 block, which makes one of these wines we're tasting tonight. Um, what makes these vines and the block area, the area specifically within the vineyard that they're located so special, and how do you ensure that the wines that you make from them every year reflect the heritage of this vineyard of Limerick Lane?
Well, two things. The good news is that the 1910 block is literally steps from the winery. So if I were to, let's see, your left ear, right behind your left ear, in the back is where our 1910 block is. And so that means we really get to keep an eye on it, very, very closely. Every day we're in it. And particularly fun for people is that we in the summer, we actually conduct our tastings out in the middle of the 1910 block.
Wow.
So, which again, I think is incredibly unique. I mean, most times, I mean, we have a tasting room, I'm in it, but how special to be able to literally put your hand out and touch a leaf of a vine that's from a 1910 plant. So I think because of that, we're very protective of that property. We also, as I mentioned before, we sometimes we don't drive a tractor through, and we'll just hand weed whack, and um, they're very delicate. I mean, sadly, we lose a few every year because you just kind of touch them, and they can decide that they're done. And there's nothing we can do. It is what it is, but for the most part, the vines are super healthy. We treat them with incredible care, and the fact that they're right there, we can keep an eye on them.
That's so cool. Now, and how big are the trunks of the vines, going down the rootstock into the ground?
I wish
They gotta
I have a
they've
piece
gotta
of
look like
wood.
like medium-sized trees at this point.
Well, they're very gnarly, I would say. They're very thick. They are basically pruned in the what's called gobule, so head pruned so that they accept as much sun as possible. But the actual um, vine itself is as thick and gnarly as you can imagine. We're not talking tree-like, but certainly they're very distinctive. And actually, on our website, I know we have a lot of photos of standalone vines, and those are all from our 1910 block. They're just beautiful. I have a beautiful photograph that someone took for me. It's a black and white of just an old vine all by itself. It's just majestic, really lovely.
So Gary's Gary says gnarly is absolutely the case, and then Vic says that when he did a tasting in the out where you're saying in the vines itself, he said 8 inches in diameter. It's,
Hmm.
that's
Yep.
not small. That's a serious. So cool. And are they yielding like 1 ton per acre? I mean, sort of on the lower end of the yield.
Definitely on the lower end. Sometimes if we're lucky, 1.5, but we don't plan for that. We, try to plan for a ton an acre.
Patricia has a question. Are you lucky enough to have escaped phylloxera? Um, nematodes. There were a few problems in the former in the early 1980s, not too far south of Healdsburg. So replanting was required. What was your guys' experience of that?
Okay, let me knock wood. There's a table here. So far, so good. I mean, we have in the past had not in that vineyard, but in our Syrah vineyard, we had some issue. So we did pull that out. God, 7 years ago, and replanted Syrah, and we just had our full crop of Syrah in 22 back. So we're finally back with that, but we replanted that whole section. So no, we've been pretty lucky so far. I mean, it's not just luck. We take care of it, but so far so good.
That's good to know. Good to know. Great questions. We have a very knowledgeable group tonight.
Great. I
All
love
right,
them. I
so
can't see them necessarily, but I love that many people have been here.
yeah. Well, Vic said that the charcuterie was amazing too, when not just the
Yay.
wine. So if any of you guys are in the area, make your way up to Limerick Lane.
Yeah.
All right, so should we get into the wines here? We'll
Happy
start
to.
off with the falcha. I
Okay.
hope I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Here's how you remember it forever, Sam. Fall, cha cha cha, drop the last two chas. Then you got it. Fall
Falcha.
cha.
Okay,
Fall
excellent. All
cha.
right. So this is a
Um,
white blend. I'm going to put up a screen just all about the wine itself. Um, I think
Here,
52.
I'll grab the bottle so
Grab
people,
the bottle. That's
I don't know
the
if you can see.
the
It's pretty bright
real, the
sunlight that I'm in.
genuine article. Um,
Yes,
all right. So tell us a little bit about this. I mean, how did it come about? Is it one that you've been making for a long time? Is it a new addition? What's the
sure.
story with the falcha?
So the first vintage of Fulci was 2021. We had, well, actually, way back in the day, we actually made a Sauvignon Blanc, and I still have some bottles of 1986 Sauvignon Blanc that at
Really?
Limerick Lane. Yes.
First vintage?
Um, pardon me?
First vintage from the winery?
Uh, yes, yes,
Wow.
1986. So obviously purchased fruit at the time, but for the longest time we only made Zin or red wines, but in the interest of being inclusive, because okay, there are people that would like a white wine, we decided to make a blend. And Chris was fortunate enough to be able to source the fruit from a local organic farm called Front Porch Farms. It's a beautiful property. If you can ever get on it, you should. They grow fruits and vegetables and flowers. And then we purchased their Grenache Blanc and Viognier fruit. Um, this is a very light and unique blend, I think. I don't think when I taste it next to Sauvignon Blanc or Vermentino or Albarino or even Sauv Blanc,
Um,
it's very distinct and different. But I think you get a beautiful stone fruit, a little bit of apricot. I mean, depending on what you're having it with, um, and just lovely. Now, the interesting thing you talked about, year over year, when we first blended it, it was about 70%
wow.
Viognier and less Grenache Blanc, but we really try to keep the flavor profile the same every year. So we do blind tests of the blend with the different
Mhm.
percentages, and depending on how the fruit comes in, we go with which blend and which percentage matches the prior year flavor profile. So this year it is in the 23, we're at 52% Viognier and 48% Grenache Blanc.
Okay.
And we named it when I was literally in Ireland and I kept seeing this word FAILTE everywhere. And I asked someone what it meant and they said it means welcome, but like a big, beautiful, warm Irish welcome. And I thought, well, I always welcome people to my home with a white wine. And this should be Limerick Lane's welcome wine to Limerick Lane. So thus Falcha.
All right, guys, I have a wow factor alert. So Karen was kind enough to send me some awesome and excellent pairing suggestions of cheese to go with these four wines. So, Karen, I went with the Briat Savarin.
Okay.
And I just tasted. I love this wine. It's light, like you said, but you still get the California sunshine in this. So it's light, but it's got a lot of personality, and you can get a little bit of some fruit forwardness. But with this Briat Savarin, I mean, that's going to be my dinner tonight. When we're done,
Great.
I'm going to retire to the kitchen, and I'm just going to put some more Briat Savarin. I mean, that is delish,
Great.
absolutely delicious,
Great.
fantastic. What a great pairing suggestion. So what's your favorite meal for this wine?
Um, Chilean sea bass, quite honestly.
Chilean sea bass. Yeah,
So
that's a good
something
one.
a little lighter and but has some texture and oil to it. Um, so I think it pairs beautifully with seafood and even as just a starter, if you're having a seafood starter or some hamachi. I'm now doing a lot of wine dinners all over the country, and often the chef, where we send this ahead, they will pair it with a hamachi.
That is so cool. I just literally, I had that. I love the wine. The mouthfeel it's got wonderful balance. The mouthfeel, the texture is lovely. And then I had it with the Bria Savarin. I was like, oh my God, it's incredible. All right, so let's move right along. We're going to go
Right.
to the 2022 Russian River Zinfandel. So this is
Okay.
kind of a signature selection for you guys, I would
It
say.
is. It is.
Um,
This is our foundational wine. We make more of this than anything else. And even then, it's only about 1,600 cases. So it's still very boutique. This would be the wine if you happen to be in a state where we distribute, and we don't distribute in all the states because we don't have enough wine for that. But if you happen to, this would probably be the wine you might get by the glass.
mhm.
And it's a beautiful blend. To us, it so personifies Russian River quality. And it's really Chris's blending technique, which is just fantastic. And he really takes care to make sure that every vintage is just as lovely and beautiful as the next. Um, this is a combination. If you'll see that our label is brownish, sepia would be what an artist might call it. And what that signifies is that it's our fruit combined with other fruit that we might purchase. So we actually purchase different fruit for this. And quite honestly, the blend includes some of the old vine Zin that we have in barrel. So you really get the benefit of that uh, incredible quality blended into the Russian River.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it back up on the screen here. Um, yeah, you also, I love the fact that you do
Mhm.
the tree's trunk with the rings, the concentric rings of the age of the tree.
Which really is our sort of symbolism of honoring the passage of time and, understanding that our property is now, 115 years old, or at least the vineyard part. And the rings of the tree are a great way to represent that.
This one it's a pretty deep, dark, classic Zinfandel color. Nose is really nice. It's got some wonderful aromatic qualities. I mean, you can really smell the fruit. Um,
I'll join you.
oh my God. Wow. That is so good.
And this is the wine that someone might start with and say, wait, I've had Zin, I don't like it. And so I love to just say, well, hold on, I have something you should try. And then I hand it to them, and they'll say, oh my God, it's delicious. What is it? And I'm like, that's Zinfandel. So I think that this shows the smoothness and elegance that is Russian River and is Limerick Lane.
And you're batting 1,000 on the cheese pairing. I just had it with the Point Reyes Bay Blue cheese, which is like a Stilton or like American blue cheese. I mean, wonderful. Doesn't even begin to describe it. Um, some of some of you guys who've been with us before, what's the alcohol? Diane asked, what's the alcohol percentage on this Zin?
Well, this one is 15.1,
Yeah. Okay.
but
So
quite
that's
honestly, it doesn't feel the way. It feels lower.
um Jan had a question. Do you distribute it in Washington State?
No, we do not. We do not. That's one of the states we're not in. We have distributors in about 15 states, I would
Can
say.
you ship to Washington
Yes.
so
Yes.
you can so Jan, you can order the wine. You don't have to do the 6 bottles unless you want to for the free shipping, but you can order the wine and have them ship it to you from Healdsburg to Washington.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. Um, um, I see there's some great comments here. Vietnamese lobster stuffed summer rolls also work well. Wow.
Well, that's pretty specific.
I mean, well, but for the
That's
Falco,
great.
that's for the Viognier Grenache Blanc blend. Um, this Zin with the blue cheese is amazing. Great combination. We had a couple of other questions. Um, from Patricia, this wine works well with tomato-based Italian dishes. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
So some of
Mhm.
you guys have heard the story, some of you haven't. You may recall that 15 or 20 years ago, before I was really in the wine industry, what got me interested in the industry was red Zin, California Zin. And years later, I was already in the business. I was at a dinner in Las Vegas with some colleagues who were not really wine people. It was kind of a marketing group. And I said, "What's everybody like?" I will get, as you guys watching always do, I'm sure, amongst your friends and family, as Karen does, I get nominated to choose the wine for the table for the fine. So I said, "What is everybody like?" And this one woman said, um, "I only drink Pinot Noir." And I said, "Okay." So they had a very good wine list. It was one of these sort of foofy, fancy restaurants. And I chose the biggest, baddest red Zin from California. I think it was a Turley or something like that. It wasn't cheap. Luckily, the dinner was kind of on the expense account. And the waiter poured the wine. And I said, "Yeah, it tastes good." And she poured the wine for the table. And that same woman said, "This is the best Pinot Noir I've ever had." People, that's the thing. And people,
Yeah.
you either know the magic and the incredible nature of California Red Zin, the quality Red Zin, or you don't. And when you taste it for the first time, you may not even realize what you've been missing.
Well, I did see someone, I didn't see who it was, but wrote something about that this replaces cab sauves. And I believe that, right? I mean, so many cabs they're beautiful. I mean, I have a lot in my cellar too, and you can't beat Hell Mountain when it comes to a beautiful cab. But the prices are kind of nuts. And,
Yeah.
okay. And I think our wine is just stunningly beautiful. To replace anything that you might want to have a cab for, I think is certainly as you get to the 1910 block in Marquis, it stands on its own next to a cab.
Karen, this is so balanced. It's such a great, I mean, Chris just nailed this. The fruit is there. The California sunshine is bursting out of this glass, but the balance is tremendous,
Mhm.
just amazing. So kudos to you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, should we move along to this
Sure.
is the one I've been really excited to taste is the 1910 block Zinfandel. Um, I guess tell us a little bit since we're doing these three Zins in sequence.
Mhm.
How does this one sort of fit into the rainbow of Zin from Limerick Lane?
Well, um, I guess I'd have to describe the others to outline that. But we have something called Rocky Knolls in, which is a Rocky Knoll vineyard all the way in the most northeast corner of the property, and that's a little bit more masculine and because of the rocky soil. Then we have the Ritchie Vineyard next door, which is again different in its own way. I would say the 1910 is a, let's compare it to what you just had, a
Yeah,
pure expression of Zinfandel, right? It's not a blend of different vineyards and different styles and different terroir. It's one terroir, one rootstock, and also something that we'll never know for sure. But since these vines were planted in 1910, they are likely interplanted with some other red grapes, right? So, because of the heritage of it, it's highly likely that there were different varietals that the Italians who planted all of Limerick Lane blended in there. So it has this unusual additional
yeah,
element of surprise, I would
yeah,
say. And just the how hard these vines have to work. And someone mentioned, I think also how deep the roots go. They're pulling really hard. And so I think that creates a structure to the wine that's just different and unique.
Yeah, so I just tasted it. And I'll give you this is my pedestrian. Yours is a much more nuanced description and analysis. This has a really distinct complexity to the flavor character, to the taste characteristics. I mean, it's just on the palate, it's complex. Um, and I think it lends itself to certain types of food. Um, but that's what I get right away. I mean, and I love the youngness, like of the freshness of the first one, but then this is more refined and complex. That's just my
Yes.
take.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
we had a couple of questions, Karen, that maybe you could help with from Melissa. Do you find your wines age as well or better now?
When you mean now, what do you think she means by now?
I don't know. Melissa, hit the chat if you would.
Mhm.
And let us know what you meant specifically about that. And then she also asked with a follow-up question, and this was interesting too, and I think this is pretty clear, like drink them now or age them?
Ah, okay. So, um, both, I'll say. I certainly think that the 21, which you're featuring here, is just incredible. I mean, and I'm not the only one who said that. If anybody follows Venice and Antonio Galoni, Antonio rated this 97 points, which I challenge you to find another other Zins that got the kind of scores we did last year that um, from Antonio. We had he had gave us 7, 96, and 97 points, and this one is 97 points. Um, I think while it's drinking beautifully, what, 4 years after the harvest, I'm actually putting some down and plan to not touch it again for another 5 years. So, for example, um, that being said, we do something every January where we pull out library wines from our collection. And we go through and literally, and I have Chris do this, with me, we taste the wines and decide what we think is lovely and that we would like to share. And so we open up our library every January. And so this and those wines also are on our website. Right now, we're featuring some wines from 2012 on the on that library collection, 2011, 2012, and they're drinking beautifully. So different, you can definitely tell they're 14 years old, but just lovely and delicious. So I would say they can certainly cellar for 5 to 8 years. I'd say for maximum um, flavor profile, but then after that, I think they can still go. So
But
I think
unlike
it's up
Bordeaux,
to, yeah,
you can drink it right now.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It just this one's really complex and nuanced and delicious. And by the way, you nailed it again. You said go with a Manchego or a
Oh,
Mimolette. I got a
Mimolette, yeah.
Manchego. I got
Mhm.
an aged Manchego, and it totally complements the complexity of this old vines Zin. Um, Wonderful. This one's great. All right. So now what is it about the Marquis Zinfandel? Is that kind of is that your cleanup cleanup hitter, like heavy hitter
Mm.
selection from the winery? Is this sort of your finest?
Well, I would say if I was going to address your question specifically, no. To answer your question specifically, I would probably say our estate cuvee, which is a blend of estate wine, which is and it includes Zinfandel, Syrah, Petite Syrah, and that is where we say we give Chris the mandate, go blend the best sections, rows, parcels of the estate property from that vintage. And so that is probably the heavy hitter, as you want to call it there.
Mhm.
But Marquis is something that is absolutely unique. And I haven't found any other winery or winemaker who does this, where we take our 1910 block, honor it by blending it with, in for the 2021, five other over 100-year-old vineyards. So in one way to think about it would be with the six different wines that are blended into the marquee blend, there's over 600 years of history in this bottle.
Wow.
No one else does that. It's incredibly unique, and bringing together. So in this vintage, people don't have the bottle in front of them, so I'll share it.
I'll
We have
put up on
Limerick
the screen.
Lane.
Here it is right here.
Well, it's kind of tiny, you can't see it, but we have Limerick Lane, Banfield, Carlisle,
Yep.
Maffei, Monte Rosso, and Bedrock.
Right. That's right on the
So
front label there.
yes, and we include the percentages there. So we make those individual wines, and then marquee, we blend it all together. And it is just a stunning wine. I can't even uh, brag about it enough. It's just stunning. Uh, I don't know. You're drinking it. I should say. I should let you say how you like it.
You
But
know what? It really, now that you've given that sort of introduction of all the elements that go into it, Banfield, Carlisle, etc., you really get that. It is, it has a whole kind of rainbow of flavor. You know, where, the Russian River was great, but very much like in one direction. This has lots of things going on, and you kind of get that from from the blend of the different sources.
well, and Russian River is younger fruit, right? It's
Yeah.
generally younger fruit with some of our single vineyard blended in, but this is all old fruit. So each of those vineyards qualifies as a historic vineyard, which means they're all taken care of with love. They have to be, because they're delicate. And so, therefore, the quality of the wine that we're able to get from all these vineyards singularly is wonderful. Combined into a symphony is just fantastic.
That's so well said. It is a symphony. That's what I
Mhm.
get off of this. And with the Humboldt Fog cheese, yes, one word.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
just a great combination. Um, I think Karen is a really excellent commentator. So much good information. I agree, Jan.
Mhm.
That's a great description.
Mhm.
This one, complimenting these, and this is a very sophisticated group that's hanging out here with us tonight, Karen. But complimenting these wines with the right food
Mhm.
pairings is so wonderful. It just takes it to a whole nother level. And as I say, 1+1 = 3 when you're combining a really nice wine with a well paired food. It's a whole nother dimension of taste. And so just a great combination. And yeah, I love the Humboldt Fog, Vic, as well, which is it's a California. That is
Mhm.
a product of California, and you get the ash right on the rind of the cheese.
Mhm.
Pretty cool. Um, so we can get these wines at limericklanewines.com.
Mhm.
If anybody's ordering 6 bottles or more, take advantage of that complimentary ground shipping.
Mhm.
Um, your tasting room is open year round, Karen?
Yes, we are 7 days a week, from 10 to 5. And yeah, it's lovely. Right now, the weather's spectacular. I mean, you have a photo behind you, but that's literally what the weather's like right now. It's
Is
just
it?
great. It's about 60 degrees. I know you're freezing your
Yeah,
butt off out there, but it's beautiful here.
we're having a minor heat wave right now because it went up to 26 degrees here.
Well, no better place, Sam, to be inside drinking some wine and having some cheese. You need to
Now,
stay in.
are
It's
you
safer.
you're not going to be at Zinex, right?
Chris, our winemaker, will be. I am
Okay.
leaving to go to Raleigh next. I leave next Wednesday, and I'm participating in the Raleigh Food and Wine Festival there. I'm then going to Nashville and participating in Nashville pairings in
Wow.
mid-February. In March, I'm going to Atlanta and doing the Atlanta High Museum auction event. And then in a particularly fun thing, my husband and I are then heading over to Blackberry Farm, and we're participating in Hospice du Rhône at Blackberry Farm, which is Blackberry Farm's on my bucket list, so I can check one bucket list thing off. And then April, I come to Charlotte. I think somebody said they're from Charlotte, and I am doing the Charlotte Wine and Food event in Charlotte in April. So
So great.
busy but fun. I love being out. We try to do something with our customers in all these different markets. So I'm having dinner with about 12 of our loyal customers and club members in Raleigh next Friday night, which is fun.
Well, if you're swinging through New York in March, we have the New York City Winter Wine and Food Festival. We'd love to have you guys there if you want to pour and show your wines. Um, and otherwise,
You'll have to send me that. I don't have that on the calendar, but I am coming in September for sure because I'm heading to the Ryder Cup, and so we'll be doing something along that way. My best girlfriend lives in Shelter Island, so we're heading out.
shelter. Okay. Well, I'm in
Mhm.
not far.
You're,
I'm
you're
around the
not
corner.
far, I know.
So Vic said any Limerick Lane tastings planned for the New York, New Jersey metro area. I don't know, Vic. Maybe we'll convince Karen to either herself or one of her team members to show up in March in the
All
city.
right, well, send me the information. I just
I'll
did a
send you the
dinner
info.
at Bourbon Steak in New York on December 18th. Sorry we missed you there.
That's excellent. By the way, I have to ask everybody watching, who is because some of you are based in California or West Coast. Anybody going to Zinfandel Experience on February 1st? Let us know. Hit the chat. I am actually, newsflash, Karen, I'm going.
Yay!
Today I
Yay!
found out that I could go. So I'll be there. We're gonna have a table for crush wine experiences at the event, at the grand tasting. Zinex, yes, Zinfandel Experience, Vic, is basically all of the major producers, the high quality producers like Limerick Lane, um, Turley, Segazio, oh my goodness, Bialy, Ridge. They all show up for this one event. There's like 80 to 100 wineries. I mean, it is the mother of all grand tastings and certainly of red wine in California. Every year, late January. This year, it's been in San Francisco traditionally. This year, it is in Napa, in the town of Napa. I've gone to it many times. And this will be my first time going in Napa. That's the first time they're doing it there. But
Well, they're
so
doing it at Copia, which is I actually was on the board of Copia, I don't know, 15 years ago, which was founded by Robert Mondavi and Julia Child
wow.
and
Yeah. So that's
together. And it was their initiative 20 years ago to really promote California food and wine. So it's a special place. And then the dinner that Chris will be doing is at Bob's winery at Bialy
Bialy, yeah.
Vineyards.
My good
Mhm.
friend Bob.
Mhm.
Yeah, so no, so guys, if you have any inclination, that's a great event to go to. I went to that event about 10 years ago for the first time because Rebecca, the head of the Zinfandel Advocates and Producers, invited me out. And my jaw was on the ground. It was like I'd never seen something like this. And I've been doing it wine events for 20 years, and I was blown away. One table, one winery more extraordinary than the next. And it's like that at that event. And we will be there. Crush Wine Experiences will be there because we have a trip to the Amalfi Coast and Naples and Campania that we're doing in May with Miro Chocolove from Miro Cellars and Trentadue Winery. And
Okay.
so that's happening in May this year, and we still have two rooms available. It's Naples, the Amalfi Coast, and Campania. So if any of you guys are interested, hit me up at info@crushwinexp.com. We also have the same trip earlier in April, April 3 through 11. We're doing Naples, the Amalfi Coast, and Campania. So both trips, there's 2 rooms still left. So if anybody's interested, contact me. I'll put my email in the chat, and hit us up, and we'd love to have you there. Otherwise, if you're going to be swinging through California on or around February 1st, definitely stop by Napa for the Zinfandel experience, and you'll get to meet Chris, the winemaker from Limerick Lane. So,
Well, and if you're not coming then, and you're coming anytime, please come to Healdsburg and to Limerick Lane. And I'm Karen at limericklanewines.com, and feel free to email me directly.
and no pressure, Karen, but at least 4 people have said, please come to New York, or please come to Shelter Island, which means you would come
I
to
will. I'm
Greenport.
coming.
You come to Greenport to my wine store. I mean, the pressure is on for you guys to come east and
I'm
showcase.
from the East, so I can do that. Would love to do that. Definitely. So for sure, September, if not earlier.
Diane says, when are you going to Shelter Island? 3 question marks.
The 20th to the 25th. And then I'm going to Bethpage Black to the Ryder Cup for
Okay.
the next 4 days. So I'll be in New York for at least 10 days.
In September. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, we got to get you to the city at some point for one of these grand tastings. The wines, guys, are extraordinary. Some of you have been there to the winery. Those of you who have not, these are iconic wines from the Russian River Valley. So anyway, Karen, thank you so much for doing this. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Super fun. Thank you.
I'm sorry I'm going to not see you in 10 days, but I'll see Chris.
Yes, and you'll see our team.
We'll FaceTime you.
Yes, well, thank you. That would be
You'll
great.
be in Charlotte or somewhere. I don't know.
I'm in Raleigh. I'm doing Raleigh.
Well, North Carolina, right? Excellent. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks you for the amazing questions and incredible insights that you shared. Stay tuned. We'll have some more stuff going on. I think we're doing another virtual tasting with one of Karen's colleagues out there in California. I think we're going to do Gergich sometime in the next couple of months. So we'll see. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful evening, and safe travels to North Carolina. I'm sorry I'll miss you, but we'll catch you in the next one.
Next time. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.